Here's how to not get strayed by terrible advice in the dating advice industry. Dating advice is maybe one of the most dangerous industries for advice because everything has some other guru or some other person in the community who's maybe not a guru but is very outspoken in their coaching group as a student who's had some success but may not be like that great, spouting with his mouth all this contradictory advice. So it can get very confusing very quickly because as you see, when you're trying to improve your dating results in these communities, forums, Facebook groups, school groups, coaching sessions, there's always someone who thinks it's a good idea as a brotherhood to give all his opinions. And the issue is a lot of that advice is contradictory or conflicting with other advice you've seen. In fact, almost everything you've heard, there's probably someone else giving you the exact opposite advice. So let me just give you a specific example. So many coaches say you should have a wingman or other men you go out with as often as you should. I kid you not, there's tons of people who say the opposite. Usually like students or people who like I said, have these opinions and think they're helping by giving this advice. And they say, no, you should go it alone, like screw a wingman, that's just a crutch, that holds you back. I think the issue is when you're in these dating advice communities, you really have to be careful, especially the larger they are, the more people there are to see your posts. And there's a point where it's helpful, and then there's a point where it's just noise. And you have to separate that noise from the truth, which a lot of people, including myself, had a very hard time doing. And the danger is you get led astray with this bad advice. They'll tell you one thing when you're supposed to do another. And you know the saying, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. And so you really just have to really screen that person. What type of credibility or success have they shown? Usually nothing. They don't lead or tell you, hey, I've achieved this much results. They just are part of this forum or community that you've paid for, or they're on the Zoom call, and they're thinking they're being helpful as a brother, adding advice. And for, I would say, the young, naive beginner students, that's what they believe is true. I used to be that student, and I think a lot of people I see funnel through these programs, they think that way. Oh, thank you. Appreciate the brotherhood. Thank you. Thanks for all the people giving me advice. I really appreciate all these perspectives. Not really looking in to see exactly how successful this guy is in dating. When you look behind the curtain, maybe he's like decent, maybe he's good looking, but in reality he's had one date in the last 2 months. So you have to be very careful, and oftentimes you also have to be tactful. You can't just be like, okay, what's your credibility? What are your results? Okay, nothing? I'm not listening to you. You're useless. You can't really say that to them. You have to be polite, or you might be kicked out of the group. So it's kind of like that. And unfortunately, a lot of these people, they're not leading or even mentioning their credibility. They're just spouting advice. And so really, it goes back to the common advice that you hear in entrepreneurship, in making money, in life, which is if they don't have the life you want, if they don't have the results you want, or if they haven't helped a ton of people from where you are now to where you want to go, why should you listen to them? And so that's truly what I have to say about that. Unfortunately, sometimes the most polite answer is you just ignore them. You don't need to point out their flaws unless they continuously give you this advice.